Welcome to the World of Faith, one of 7 worlds in 7 World Productions, a subsidiary of Angelgram Music. My name is Gino, and I am sole owner of Angelgram Music and executive director of 7 World Productions. Continuing our series in Search of Faith, here is part 3 of Hinduism. Hope you enjoy. Hinduism, part 3. We were in error in the previous Hinduism part 2. This is not going to be the conclusion of Hinduism. We have probably 2, maybe 3 more episodes. It's quite a vast entity of information that we'd like to portray to you. Today, in part 3, we're going to talk about the diversity and unity. Hindu beliefs are vast and diverse, and thus Hinduism is often referred to as a family of religions rather than a single religion. Within each religion in this family of religions, there are different theologies, practices, and sacred texts. Hinduism does not have a unified system of belief encoded in a declaration of faith or a creed, but is rather an umbrella term comprising the plurality of religious phenomena of India. According to the Supreme Court of India, unlike other religions in the world, the Hindu religion does not claim any one prophet. It does not worship any one god. It does not believe in any one philosophic concept. It does not follow any one act of religious rites or performances. In fact, it does not satisfy the traditional features of a religion or creed. It is a way of life and nothing more. Part of the problem with a single definition of the term Hinduism is the fact that Hinduism does not have a founder. It is a synthesis of various traditions. The Brahmanical orthopraxy, the renouncer traditions, and popular or local traditions. Theism is also difficult to use as a unifying doctrine for Hinduism because, while some Hindu philosophies postulate a theistic ontology of creation, other Hindus are or have been atheists. Despite the differences, there is also a sense of unity. Most Hindu traditions revere a body of religious or sacred literature, the Vedas, although there are exceptions. These texts are a reminder of the ancient cultural heritage and point of pride for Hindus. Mr. Louis Renaud stated that even in the most orthodox domains, the reverence to the Vedas has come to be a simple raising of the hat. Another points out that although Shaivism and Vaishnavism may be regarded as self-contained religious constellations, there is a degree of interaction and reference between the theoreticians and the literary representatives of each tradition that indicates the presence of a wider sense of identity, a sense of coherence in a shared context, and of inclusion in a common framework and horizon. Brahmins played an essential role in the development of the post-Vedic Hindu synthesis, disseminating Vedic culture to local communities and integrating local religiosity into the trans-regional Brahmanic culture. In the post-Gupta period, Vedanta developed in southern India, where Orthodox Brahmanic culture and the Hindu culture were preserved, building an ancient Vedic traditions while accommodating the multiple demands of Hinduism. The notion of common denominators for several religions and traditions of India further developed from the 12th century A.D. Lawrenson traces the emergence of a family resemblance and what he calls as beginnings of medieval and modern Hinduism taking shape between 300 and 600 AD with the development of the early Puranas and continues with the earlier Vedic religion. Lawrenson states that the establishment of a Hindu self-identity took place through a process of mutual self-definition with a contrasting Muslim other. According to Lawrenson, this presence of the other is necessary to recognize the loose family resemblance among the various traditions and schools. According to the Indologist Alexis Sanderson, before Islam arrived in India, the Sanskrit sources differentiated Vedika, Vaishnava, Shaiva, Shakta, Saura, Buddhist, and Jaina traditions, but they had no name that denotes the first five of these as a collective identity over and against Buddhism and Jainism. This absence of a formal name, states Sanderson, does not mean that the corresponding concept of Hinduism did not exist. By the late first millennium AD, the concept of a belief and tradition distinct from Buddhism and Jainism had emerged. This complex tradition accepted in its identity almost all of what is currently Hinduism, except certain antinomian tantric movements. Some conservative thinkers of those times questioned whether certain Shaiva, Vaishnava, and Shakta texts or practices were consistent with the Vedas, or were invalid in their entirety. Moderates then, and most orthodox scholars later, agreed that though there are some variations, the foundation of their beliefs, the ritual grammar, the spiritual premises, and the soteriologies were the same. This sense of greater unity, states Sanderson, came to be called Hinduism. According to Nicholson, already between the 12th and the 16th centuries, certain thinkers began to treat as a single whole the diverse philosophical teachings of the Upanishads and the epics and the Puranas, and the schools known retrospectively as the Six Systems or mainstream Hindu philosophy. The tendency of a blurring of philosophical distinctions has also been noted by Burley. Hacker called this inclusivism, and Michael speaks of the identificatory habit. Lorenzen locates the origins of a distinct Hindu identity in the interaction between Muslims and Hindus, and a process of mutual self-definition with a contrasting Muslim other, which started well before 1800. As a counteraction to Islamic supremacy and as a part of the continuing process of regionalization, two religious innovations developed in the Hindu religions: the formation of sects and a historicization which preceded later nationalism. The Brahmins also produced increasingly historical texts, especially eulogies and chronicles of sacred sites, or developed a reflexive passion for collecting and compiling extensive collections of quotations on various subjects. This inclusivism was further developed in the 19th and 20th centuries by Hindu reform movements and Neo-Vedanta, and has become characteristic of modern Hinduism. The notion and reports on Hinduism as a single world religious tradition was also popularized by 19th century proselytizing missionaries and European Indologists, roles sometimes served by the same person, who relied on texts preserved by Brahmins, who are actually priests, for their information of Indian religions, and other observations that the missionary Orientalists presumed was Hinduism. These reports influence perceptions about Hinduism. Scholars such as Pennington state that the colonial polemical reports led to fabricated stereotypes where Hinduism was mere mystic paganism devoted to the service of devils, while other scholars state that the colonial constructions influenced the belief that the Vedas and such texts were the essence of Hindu religiosity, and in the modern association of Hindu doctrine with the schools of Vedanta as a paradigmatic example of Hinduism's mystical nature. Pennington, while concurring that the study of Hinduism as a world religion began in the colonial era, disagrees that Hinduism is a colonial European era invention. He states that the shared theology, the common ritual grammar and way of life of those who identify themselves as Hindus is traceable to ancient times. The Hindutva movement has extensively argued for the unity of Hinduism, dismissing the differences and regarding India as a Hindu country since ancient times. And there are assumptions of political dominance of Hindu nationalism in India. There have also been increase in predominance of Hindutva in Nepal, similar to that of India. The scope of Hinduism is also increasing in the other parts of the world due to the cultural influences such as yoga, Hare Krishna, by many missionaries organizations, specifically by ISKCON, and this is also due to the migration of Indian Hindus to the other nations of the world. Hinduism is growing fast in many Western nations and in some African nations. Prominent themes in Hindu beliefs include, but are not restricted to, the Dharma, the ethics, the duties, the samsara, which is the continuing cycle of entanglement in passions, and the resulting birth, life, death, and rebirth, karma, moksha, and the various yogas, which are paths and practices. The Purusharthas refers to the objectives of human life. Classical Hindu thought accepts 4 proper goals or aims of human life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma is considered the foremost goal of a human being in Hinduism. The concept of Dharma includes behaviors that are considered to be in accord with RTA, the order that makes life and universe possible, and includes duties, rights, laws, conduct, virtues, and right way of living. Hindu Dharma includes the religious duties, moral rights, and duties of each individual, as well as behaviors that enable social order, right conduct, and those that are virtuous. Dharma is that which all existing beings must accept and respect to sustain harmony and order in the world. It is the pursuit and execution of one's nature and true calling, thus playing one's role in cosmic concert. Artha is objective and virtuous pursuit of wealth for livelihood, obligations, and economic prosperity. It is inclusive of political life, diplomacy, and material well-being. The Artha concept includes all means of life, activities, and resources that enables one to be in a state one wants to be in: wealth, career, and financial security. The proper pursuit of Artha is considered an important aim of human life in Hinduism. Kama. In Sanskrit it means desire, wish, passion, longing, pleasure of the senses, the aesthetic enjoyment of life, affection, or love, with or without sexual connotations. In Hinduism, Kama is considered an essential and healthy goal of human life when pursued without sacrificing Dharma, Artha, and Moksha. And finally, Moksha. In Sanskrit, it is Mukti. It is the ultimate, most important goal in Hinduism. In one sense, Moksha is a concept associated with liberation from sorrow and suffering and the birth-rebirth cycle. A release from this eschatological cycle in afterlife, particularly in theistic schools of Hinduism, is called moksha. Due to belief in the indestructibility of Atman, death is deemed insignificant with respect to the cosmic self. The meaning of moksha differs among the various Hindu schools of thought. For example, Advaita Vedanta holds that after attaining moksha, a person knows their essence, self as pure consciousness or the witness consciousness, and identifies it as identical to Brahman. The followers of Dvaita schools in moksha state identify individual essence as distinct from Brahman, but infinitesimally close, and after attaining moksha expect to spend eternity in heaven. To theistic schools of Hinduism, moksha is liberation, while for other schools such as the monastic school, moksha is possible in current life and is a psychological concept. According to Deutsch, Moksha is transcendental consciousness to the latter, the perfect state of being, of self-realization, of freedom, and of realizing the whole universe as the self. Moksha in these schools of Hinduism suggests and implies a setting free of hitherto fettered faculties, a removing of obstacles to an unrestricted life, permitting a person to be more truly a person in the full sense. The concept presumes an unused human potential of creativity, compassion, and understanding which had been blocked and shut out. Moksha is more than liberation from life rebirth cycle of suffering. Vedantic school separates these two into the liberation in this life and the liberation after death. Next time on Hinduism Part 4, we will talk about karma and samsara. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, click like and leave comments so that we can discuss this further. Also, if you'd like, please subscribe, and that way you'll receive email notifications of future episodes in this world and other worlds. Try out our other worlds, the wonderful world of art, the world of books, the world of food, the world of family, the world of games, and the world of music. Go and be inspired.